we're ready to go as soon as Pat tells you.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. Mayor Travis couldn't be here. He's got some business to take care of. First thing, I'd like to call this meeting to order and call for public forum. Is there anyone out there in the forum that public that would like to come up? Well, come on forward, state your name and address, and let us know what you have to say.
Hey, I'm Dana Meyer. My address is 919 West 2nd here in Halstead. I'm here because, well, I am a emotionally reactive person, but I have recently dealt with a brain injury. So I'm going to try and relay information to you, but I have a processing error, so I'm sorry. I'm currently being harassed by the police department. On July 10th, we had an issue at our home where the police were called out. It was investigated by our chief of police for the last week, and he has concluded that investigation. My expectation of law enforcement has grown from concern to fear based on that investigation. Ultimately, it led to the police chief and the city manager directing me to the KBI. And I'm not really 100% sure why. I guess a civil suit is better served for our community. And hopefully you guys can look into this for me. My husband asked me to keep it very short and very sweet with you guys. So I'm going to leave it with that. And I'm going to leave it on something really nice, which is Pat, you and Danny and all the maintenance guys did an amazing job with the cleanup. Thank you very much after the tornado. Have a nice night.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, after that, do we have any agenda changes? Ethan?
The only thing I will note is we need a motion to remove that second quarterly treasurer's report from the consent agenda. Caught an error on there, so we don't want you guys to approve that until those changes have been made. It's not a big thing, it's just one fund that didn't report out correctly on that.
Okay. So we're looking for a motion with the amendments to delete the second quarter treasurer's report for the consent agenda. Approval there.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda minus the second quarterly treasurer's report.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Those all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Unfinished business, we have a distressed property item for 126 East 3rd. Ethan, you want to open up there?
Sure. That is the Townsman property. As I think you are all aware, the demolition of that was completed. So the structures are no longer there, and but based on speaking with Brad, I think we are good to basically just ask you guys to approve via what city code and state statute allows, which is billing a total of $25,790 to the property owner for the costs of remediation of the dangerous and distressed property. And then pursuing us to pursue that via special assessment lien if we do not receive payment. And then a second motion to close the distressed property hearing as the structure's no longer on the property. I think that's all we need to do.
With that, I don't know if we have any discussion on that, but I'll be looking for a motion, for two motions.
I'll motion to approve invoicing 126 East 3rd, the property owner of 126 East 3rd for the cost of asbestos inspection and demolition totaling $25,790 and directing staff to pursue a lien via special assessment on the property.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
I'll motion to close the distressed property proceedings on 126 East 3rd Street.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you, motion carries. Distressed property hearing on 308 Chestnut. Mr. Reimer.
That is the handout of the resolution, just per the instructions you relayed to staff at the end of conversations last meeting. We have had recent contact with the property owner. Some of that I believe will be shared on a later agenda item. But this resolution essentially lays out the timeline of what we found so far. Notes that as we've had no contract for work finalized and presented for you all to consider, and would basically set a date for either the raising and removing of that property, or I believe Brad was preparing it to also allow for that date for the actual contract to be presented, showing that it's repairs. The property owner has indicated via legal counsel, I know the meeting council president and Torres I had, that, plans to prepare, just there's, been issues contracting with the contractor's not getting back to answer specific questions. So you all had instructed us to at least have a resolution go to put a timeline, very similar to what was done with the townsman. I don't know, Brad, if anything else you want to share about it?
That's pretty much it. It's basically covers the waterfront in terms of our ability to, after a specified period of time, which you can determine, you can go ahead and take the same action on that property as we did on the townsman. The hope is, based upon some of the conversations, I think, that there might be an alternative that's presented to you that would allow you to consider in good faith giving additional time to complete everything, but this covers it.
From this date to a date that we could raise this building, how much time do you need administratively to make sure that these documents are in proper order? Do you need 30 days, 45 days, 60 days?
It's really, the more the question is, what do you consider to be reasonable for him, and how much of a tether do you want to put on him in terms of?
Him, you're referring to the property owner,
Yeah,
and I think we're beyond reason at this point.
so yeah, but that, again, that's.
So that's why I'm saying, whatever the administrative timeline is, I think from there we move forward.
The way it's worded, it says on or after a specific date. So if you want to shorten it up and just do it at 30 days, you can. The norm for a lot of these is 60 days, but again, this has gone on for quite a while.
That's why I'm asking these specific questions, because this continues to go on and on and on. He knows we're serious. I want him to continue to understand that we're serious.
The recitation in here goes through everything that we've been dealing with, and you understand that it's been going on for a year, and then some. And so if you want to shorten it up as a result of that, that's your option.
Well, it just seems like he hasn't really followed up on his end of any of the things that he said he was gonna do again and again and again. So why waste more time if it's not necessary, would be my thoughts on it, I guess.
The longer it's there, the longer it's a hazard.
I'd like to hear from some of my other council members as to a timeline. Would you like to see 30 days, 45 days, or 60 days? I'll put on this document.
30.
30.
Sounds good to me.
30.
If we coincide that, so August 26th, agreeable with everyone, that'd be our second meeting in August.
So we just need to push this to that meeting?
You actually would want to make a motion to approve, and this would be resolution number 2024-07 would be its number. And basically make a motion to approve that with the dates as noted, and, yeah, then we can,
We'll get it ready.
It was August
26.
26. Okay. I would motion to approve Resolution 2024-07 and to have that completed August 26, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Distressed property at 217 Main Street. Mr. Armour.
yes, per the land bank meeting earlier this evening, the city the land bank, has made contact with the property owner and is currently underway of, taking possession of the property in the land bank. So we would ask for a motion to continue further discussion of the property until the September 9th meeting to hopefully allow for that transfer of ownership to take place and paperwork to be completed.
Looking for a motion there.
Okay, I would motion to continue our talks about 217 Main until the meeting on September 9th.
Looking for a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We have new business, Nisley Brothers contract request.
Merrill Yoder is here from Nisley Brothers. They had spoken to you all earlier in the year, I think, when they presented the reserve dumpster and just asked if the city would be amenable to hearing an extension from them. As you all hopefully know, we are in the last year of our current contract, so we either need to extend with our current provider or we need to go out to RFP for trash services. So I will let Merrill come up and speak to you all about what was in the packet for your consideration.
All right, thanks for having me. Obviously, we feel that the best deal for the city is for me to go home tonight with a 10-year contract, but we'll let you make the decision. The thing that you guys are going to most care about, you have the packets in front of you?
They should have them online.
Okay. Yeah, on page 4, it talks about the price increase. So for years, we've always tried to figure out what is a fair way to do a price increase, and we've settled on a water, sewer, and trash CPI. And so basically, that's what we've put in here. So we propose to start, we've given you a couple options with a 10-year or a 5-year contract, and we've obviously incentivized a 10-year contract starting at $13.90 a month. And so if you have that in front of you, you can see that. And then a 5-year term would start at $14.90 and then increase every year, and a 10-year would start at $13.90, increase every other year. Any questions just on that basic thing there?
Sounds like a pretty simple. Ethan, do you have any input on this?
You can see, the first in there was the letter from Marvin Nisley, the president, just talking about how since they started with the city, basically what they've seen in terms of that waste sewer or water sewer trash CPI, how much that's increased. And then that bar graph that's in there is basically showing you the historical trend, which, you all are exposed to various CPIs for other operations the city has, so I don't think that probably shocked anyone. There was a page in there that just answered some basic questions we had, which was Wedgwood was still included as a city facility. City Hall continues to have access to recycle carts. As well as our trash, they still do offer basic free service to all the city facilities. That just had some clarification. They still continue to plan their support of Old Settlers Day. And then they also would continue to provide the portable restroom for Memorial Day, and then also actually add support of the Arts and Crafts Fair in October, which is currently not on our contract. We have paid for that every year, which, depending on what has been asked for, runs anywhere from like $2,000 to $2,500. So, and then other than that, again, it's really up to you all of what you feel is appropriate, so.
Well, RFP does create competition. So that's what I like.
I would agree. I'd like to see an RFP, but again, I'm very happy with your services.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You guys have been fantastic. I've had to make a couple of calls, hey, and you guys have been out to take care of us. But no, you're right. This is a community thing. We're here to represent the citizens' resources, and so I think an RFP would be the thing to do.
I did an unscientific inquiry at some of my constituents in town, and they rate Nisley at 4.8 out of 5. That's pretty darn good. That's coming from 23 people. So,
You guys mind if I make a couple comments about reserve a dumpster? So I did a little bit of figuring. So in a typical, because I know we've had some issues with that, and we were up to 6 dumpsters, and now we're going to go with 3. But for instance, so the town of South Hutch is about the same size as you guys, and we do 540 yards a year. And so you guys, if we did what we're equal to right now with 3 6-yard dumpsters dumped every week, that's equal to 23 40-yard dumpsters a year. And so it's a lot of, we don't really know why, but Halstead we have a lot of trash here. And so just so you guys know for comparison's sake that, I mean, it's a lot of trash compared to what we normally do. And we're fine with that. But just so you guys know if there's ever questions about reserve a dumpster.
Well, I'm sure at first it will be a lot, but I'm
Yeah.
sure that will die down.
Yeah, Ethan assured me the other day, he thinks three is gonna probably work out. And,
Yeah.
yeah. We just know there's been some issues and we're trying to work through those.
Okay, so do we need a motion to table this until a later date?
I would say if the majority opinion is wanting to go to RFP, having that made as a motion so we can start that premise, because we'll want to get that out pretty fast.
Right. Well, we'll look for a motion for that from the body here.
I would motion to RFP our trash service.
Looking for a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of looking for an RFP on our trash services, motion with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
George, just for clarification, you're an aye, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Wedgewood equipment purchases.
Well, we don't recycle anymore.
Council, thank you for letting me be here tonight. My name is Sam Eberly. I'm the golf course superintendent at Wedgewood Golf Course. So 2 years ago, we purchased a Ventrac from Professional Turf Products, and that was to replace a rough mower. If you guys don't know what a Ventrac is, it's a multi-purpose piece of equipment that can do multiple things, ranging from aerification to digging to mowing. It really does everything for a golf course. So I know a lot of you have heard about the winter kill situation that's been going on in this state. Wedgewood was hit by that too. So we started the year off at 60% winter killed Bermuda fairways that we put in a couple years ago, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. With that Ventrac, having the aerifier, having that contour deck, we've been able to go from 60% winter killed to roughly 15 to 20% winter killed. So when you look at winter kill and what it is, it's really just a kill of all Bermuda, a kill of all zoysia, a kill of all winter or warm season grasses. Having that success rate this early in the season, because we still have all of August, all of September to grow it back. It's awesome what that Ventrac has done for us.
Is that a fungus? The winter kill, is that a fungus?
No, it's so what happens is when a lot of us got together and we're thinking it happened mid-January when we had those temperatures in the 50s. We went through that like a week of 50 degree, and it was 35, 32, 28 at night. And then we had that next day where it dropped in the negatives. Well, you can't go from extremes in the wintertime from 50 degrees to negative to a negative temperature, like 17 degrees, you know? So that's what we have all kind of assumed happened. And then there was no, you know, snow cover. If we have snow cover that insulates the grass, we didn't have that. We had quite a bit of rain this winter, which made the ground wet, which also helps with winter kill when it freezes. So, you know, having that bin track really helped us. And also for the last couple of years to be able to like do like tree removal, digging, aerification, you know, cleanups after a large rain event. We've had to borrow the skid steer from the maintenance department, which has been great. They've been great helping. You know, I kind of look at that as a burden on them because we're having to take something away from them for us to use at the golf course. Having these attachments, which I'll hit on here in just a little bit, will help us not have to rely on Pat. We could do it when we need to do it. Our members, our players are not waiting on us to get something done. So in the packet, the consideration of purchase is a loader, a suitcase weight to balance the weight from the front to back. Because if you haven't seen a Ventrac, it's actually a small piece of equipment that can do large things. So we need that weight, the 3-in-1 hitch, the rock bucket with grapple, and the third auxiliary hydraulic function to run the grapple function of the bucket. And that loader includes the regular bucket. So we'd have one for aerification, move rocks around the course, do, you know, minor things like that. But then we'd have the grapple to remove the tree limbs, to remove the logs that, you know, that we would rely on the skid steer for. So do you have any questions with any?
I think you do a great job. But like I told Grant, I really would like to see 3 quotes. I just think it's important.
Well, I'll get to that here in a second.
Okay.
But so Professional Turf Products is the only supplier of Ventrac. So the attachments are not like other skid steer products where you can use, you know, you can get a case bucket for a New Holland track or New Holland skid steer. It's a specific brand for the specific unit. So that's why there's only one quote in the area. I mean, you'd have to go to another Ventrac dealer, which would be the same exact price. So there really are no other quotes.
I mean, it seems reasonable.
To
The
go.
quote does, but
To do that. So what I'm asking is to accept the considerations of the loader, the suitcase weight, the hitch, rock bucket, grapple, and the auxiliary function, and a price not to exceed $11,000. And this would come from the Wedgwood Equipment Fund. Any questions?
Ethan, was any of this anticipated in the budget?
Yeah, I mean, we've shifted a little when Sam bought the Ventrac as far as like with the attachments coming for equipment.
Okay.
You know, if he just wanted, say, the rock bucket and grapple, we wouldn't, I mean, we could have approved that. It's more because he's trying to get the multiple attachments and it went over that $10,000 threshold is why it's coming before you all. So, yeah, normally when it comes to buckets, like when we had to buy a grapple bucket for the high loader related to the storm, I mean, that fell within spending authorities
Right.
and move forward. So, yeah, we have, as the Ventrac has exposed the efficiencies in replacing certain equipment, I know Sam and I talk every budget year of where we're moving things because it really has opened and kind of, I always call it his Swiss Army knife. I mean, it has opened up a lot of functionality for him and replaced what otherwise used to be multiple pieces of equipment for him, I think would be fair to say.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's replaced 2 pieces of equipment. And, you know, looking ahead and looking back, you know, it's replacing the air fryer that we don't have, but now we have because of the attachment. It's replaced another rough mower when it goes down. I mean, it can mow the whole course. There's multiple things that it can do that really can't be bought with other pieces of equipment.
So just so the citizens understand, we have a specific product that has attachments that are also only made by this specific company.
Correct.
So it's not like there's competitors that we.
The only competitors you would find is another Ventrac dealer selling the same exact product for the same exact price.
Sure. Well, if there's no more questions, I will.
I have one.
Sure, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just trying to think about how I was trying to word it, I guess. So, the loader, I guess, like, we're borrowing that from town. Is that what if I'm understanding right?
No, so I borrowed their skid steer in previous years to remove limbs. I'm purchasing a loader for the Ventrac, and the loader is the loader and bucket.
Oh, okay. And you're gonna use that to remove limbs?
Yes. That's what that grapple and
How
rock bucket is.
often, like, would you?
Every
Every
day.
single day, there's limbs out?
Every
on there?
day, we could be doing something, especially after this last storm.
Sure.
We're out there every day cutting something up, just trying to remove it off tree lines, dead limbs and trees.
So these are things that you're using on a daily basis?
Yep, and right now, like to aerify, so we try to aerify 3 or 4 times a year. We aerify twice with sand, and we borrow the skid steer from Pat. This gives us the opportunity to aerify, because the other 2 times we just aerify, don't throw sand, we just poke holes, alleviate pressure in the ground. With this, we'll be able to throw sand more often. We'll be able to fix divots on tee boxes and in fairway. It gives us the opportunity to do a lot more. We can clean out bunkers, replace bunker sand, just stuff that we haven't been able to do, stuff that I've been wanting to do for the last 3 or 4 years that we just can't do because we don't have
The
this piece of
reversal
equipment.
piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, with that, I'll be looking for a motion regarding this item.
I make the motion to approve a loader, bucket, suitcase, hitch, rock bucket, and grapple. And third auxiliary function for the V-Track on professional turf products with a price not to exceed $11,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Sam, you do a
Thank
great
you.
job out there. It looks
Thanks.
great. Looks good. Okay. Review the bids for the 9th Street, Chestnut Street to Spruce Street project.
All right, I apologize that Harlan could not be here with us tonight. He typically presents these and usually can probably do a better job of answering technical questions you might have. But we did have the bid opening for the 9th Street, basically the block from Main to Spruce and then the block from Main to Chestnut. We advertised on June 27th and opened bids on July 11th. There were 7 contractors who responded to the advertisement. The bid tabulation was there in your packets on page 34. Kansas Paving out of Wichita was the low bid for both asphalt as well as concrete, with an anticipated start date of August 25th. Staff recommendation is to go with the concrete bid, but we do always bid both. As you can see, sometimes there's a major difference in price, but we feel the advantages of concrete make up for kind of the disparity in cost. I will note that this was below both staff estimates and the engineer's estimate for the project, so it was kind of nice to see that pricing come in. So there is also, just to note, a small portion of that bid is related to work on the sewer mains in the area. Again, just as a good due diligence, while we have things torn up or exposed, we try to replace infrastructure that might need addressed while the streets are torn up. So there is a small bit that's related to the wastewater system. Pat can probably walk you through that if there's any questions on that. So part of this, if approved, the wastewater-related costs would come from the wastewater capital fund, and then the rest would come from our street capital fund, so.
Pat, I was around the other day when we were talking about the issues that, either, when you want to talk on that just a minute?
On the sewer line?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, but I knew you weren't expecting, but I know the citizens would want to know.
No, we did some televising on the sewer lines over there just to make sure they were potentially in good shape. We did find an issue with both lines. The one on the Chestnut Main Street side, there's actually an offset joint in it, so we're going to replace the line under the street and then go about 10 foot out from the curb. So everything under the street plus 10 foot will be replaced.
Good.
And then on the east side of Main, there was one joint, and it's kind of weird. It went from clay tile to cast iron, and right at that transition, there was a break in the pipe. I don't know if it's really super serious, but while we had it open, we don't understand why. I don't have a good reason why there's clay or cast iron in that section. I have a theory that it's possibly because there's storm line close, and they wanted to have something, because the two pipes maybe were very close together, they wanted something more solid than just clay tile. Yeah. It's the only thing I can think of. Okay. But we're doing the same thing on that side, going 10 foot outside each side of the curb, right. And it'll be new pipe under the street. That way, any future problems, it'll just be replacing in the open alleys, so.
Considering you're gonna be doing that work and this concrete paving, I think those numbers are, like you say, are good numbers. They're less than what you were expecting, so.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's more questions
Thank you.
or comments, I'll be looking for a motion on this item.
I'll motion to accept the bid from Kansas Paving in the amount of $308,611 for 9th Street and Chestnut to Spruce. Project to start August 25th, 2024. And authorization for staff to prepare, review, execute necessary documents and contracts related to the project.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you very much. Safe Routes to School Improvement Project, row additional services.
Yeah, so there's in the additional scope of services that we have found is needed as we've worked with KDOT, who has final approval on our Safe Routes to School and the plans. Originally, we were hopeful that we wouldn't have to get too involved with the right-of-way acquisition because of where the sidewalks ran. However, we are required to get temporary construction easements if there's any possibility that construction would go over beyond those right-of-ways, or potentially, even if they have to put construction fencing and it's right on the line, we have to get permission to satisfy the KDOT requirements. That is a legal basic agreement that we're gonna have to have each individual property owner sign. We have to have legal descriptions of what the potential easement is. Again, when this was designed and put out, almost 2 years ago as we started working with Lochner, it was, not anticipated we'd have to get into this level of weeds, if you will. These documents can't be generated by us as staff, unfortunately, so they do have to involve a licensed surveyor. It does add $15,000 into costs. Again, the grant itself was for just over $400,000. So unfortunately, our option would be to either throw in the towel or unfortunately swallow a little bit more cost. One thing I will note is KDOT's fully aware sometimes this happens. So we did, in a previous meeting, you all signed an updated agreement that basically said they understand that our costs might increase, and it essentially just locks in that 80-20 divide that the original 400,000 is. So we should still see the benefit, that we anticipate. This won't have us have to ratchet down the project or anything, just due to price increases. But an unfortunate reality, and Lochner and their subcontractor are good to go as soon as we get this approved, so.
Well, I should say it's an unfortunate reality, but you also, from time to time, build some of this insurance into the budget. So we have some funds off to the side that we can use to cover this, so.
How close are we to having all the engineering done?
With this, right now, our anticipated date for bid, which KDOT will bid the project on our behalf, is December. So if we can get this turned around really fast, get good response from those 30 property owners,
Right, yeah.
we should be. That will honestly probably be the next thing that potentially delays us, is if somebody either refuses to give us the temporary easement because then we have to go through acquisition. But I'm hopeful most people, are getting sidewalks addressed. Hopefully they understand
Yeah.
the value of the project.
We're gonna
so.
make your property nice.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right. Looking for a motion here.
A motion to approve additional services with Lochner for Safe Routes to School improvement project for amount not to exceed 15,000 and authorize the city manager to sign any necessary documents.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. And that motion carries. Thank you very much. IT network server replacement options. Mr. Reimer.
Yeah, so those were the two handouts. We are nearing the end of our service life with our server, which is hard to believe because it feels like just yesterday we put it in, but that is not the case. The big thing there is obviously it's coming out of warranty. Some of the security, as far as the hardware itself. They did prepare two quotes. So one is the one that says the quote for Azure would be moving to like a virtual server situation. And then the on-prem would be physically putting a server back here in the building. You can see that there is, if you go to the kind of the end page, page 3, page 5. The total cost for an on-prem is just over 40,000. Switching to an off-prem solution, cloud-based server, is just over 15. When we originally talked server, obviously it was a different governing body. Back then, they were still very, there was a lot of feeling from the governing body at that time. They wanted an on-premise server still, so it was physically here. But obviously, I didn't feel that I'd be doing my due diligence for you all to not show you the price difference on those. Staff, more and more cities seem to be switching to a virtual because they're seeing the same thing of on-premises getting pretty expensive. There is potentially some latency issues, things that come with always having to access via the cloud. Security-wise, though, whether it's a virtual server or a physical on-site server, staff is always going to be the weak point in terms of security or, users on the system, if you will. So, anyway, we just want possible directions. This is obviously from Imagine because they're our managed IT service provider. So that's makes the most sense for who we would have handle this project unless we're also looking
What
at
was the
swapping.
equipment? We just bought a lot of equipment for here. I thought that included a server, did it not?
We did do, I think the most recent server was related to Josh's evidence software. And there is a line item on these that talks about integrating those because right now his evidence software server is kind of a separate issue. And then we did buy some hardware related to the actual network and bringing the fiber drop in.
So is that still gonna be used?
Yeah, we'll still have,
They all work together. What do you prefer? Do you prefer an on?
Ethan, excuse me, before you respond to that,
yeah,
I think it may be foolish not to go web-based in this day and age.
yeah.
If we have the speed that your internet service provider provides now, I don't anticipate. It's not nearly as involved as what Skyward is that we use at the school district, I can assure you. But I haven't seen that many latency issues, haven't heard of them. With ICT out of Kansas City that does that for us. So I would wholeheartedly endorse web-based, cloud-based. Now you can answer his question.
Yeah, I have not seen anything, that would lead me to the conclusion that one is vastly superior to the other. And again, with the cost difference, it's hard not to say, it's not worth looking into it. And then when this next server comes up, if we find that it was just a total thing, make that note very bold of either from a staff perspective or if we have issues, hey, this is, this is just not a good solution for us.
Well, but they're gonna have redundancy.
Yeah.
You won't hear.
And that's, I say, the one advantage with the Azure proposal, if you will, is the backup, everything is already built in. With the on-prem, we have to get a separate backup solution. So depending on how many terabytes we need, whether we want a year retention, unlimited retention, all that adds anywhere from $700 to $1,000 a month as an ongoing cost. So it's not just that initial investment of getting there. You can see labor's pretty much a wash with the two. It's gonna take, the IT side, basically the same amount of time to do. And we'll still have hardware, to Josh's question, in there, like our camera servers. And yeah, I imagine we'll have to integrate all that and, we don't anticipate any issues. And like I said, a lot of the cities I've reached out to, more and more of them seem to be looking at cloud-based just because of the cost differential.
So in a year from now, if we went away from Imagine, would this be lost? Is it only through them or?
No, I think this, and I can get that, that's why I didn't put it for action, just to see if you guys had questions of confirming. I believe as long as any other managed IT service provider had contractor ability with Azure, that it would transfer over. Because I know Datto, for instance, on the on-prem proposal, our previous managed IT server also used Datto, so that was not specific to them by any stretch, and I think
Okay.
we would see the same with Azure, but I can get clarification. One of the big reasons they wanted is if the city was gonna pursue a physical server, the lead time would be like, we'd wanna get it ordered probably no later than the end of August, and hopefully they would have something here by February, just because the lead time is so great. Where I don't know that we're under the exact same time crunch if we do a cloud-based solution.
Well, it definitely seems more appealing not to have a monthly fee of $1,000 or $1,500 or whatever it, because these are for forever basically, right? And that's a lot. So if we can get what we need from a web-based version, that feels like that.
Yeah.
And you're looking for consensus at this point, no motion on this?
Yeah, and I can get answers, so maybe just tabling the discussion to the next meeting.
Well, I'll be looking for that motion.
I'll motion to table the IT network server replacement options till next meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. We have, it is the last new business. Set work council, city council work session.
Yeah, didn't know too, as far as appetite, but obviously we need to present the draft budget, to you all. Discuss that. The other, somewhat exciting or other project that I know some of you have felt has been pending and taken a long time is, we have heard back about the wastewater treatment plant upgrades, and we want to schedule a time for him to come in and kind of present where they were at. We've already done some preliminary outreach in terms of contacting the state, and can talk with you guys on some of the options available there in terms of financing. The best week for Schwab to come in is the week of July 29th. And then the reason I left it open for multiple was just, I'm sure the wastewater treatment plant itself will be a fairly involved discussion or take some time, so I didn't want to necessarily inundate you guys with diving into the budget itself too that same night. And I think those of you know we typically have to have multiple budget work sessions anyway, so it's setting, because with the next meeting, we basically wouldn't meet again until August 12th to set further work sessions, so it's one of those of what you all, but staff would at least be looking for one work session to be set sometime the week of July 29th, if at all possible. And we would definitely plan for Schwab Eaton to come and talk about the wastewater treatment plant.
At a later date in August, possibly.
No, at that July 29th.
Oh, at the 29th,
Yeah.
okay.
Because that, we have a timetable we need to stay on if we want to pursue funding, so.
I will definitely not be here that whole week, so.
The week of the 29th.
That works for me. Any night of of that week.
And we could, I think, push it to August, the week of August 5th too, if that's better for all of you.
Would be best to have all of us there,
For wastewater, definitely.
so.
We could do it on I'm sorry. We could do it on a Monday or a Wednesday. I'm teaching a class on the evening of the Tuesday and Thursdays.
Monday the 5th or 7th, or Wednesday 7th. I can make either of those.
Yeah. I'm good with the 5th.
Fifth's fine with me.
Okay. 6 o'clock, Ethan, or?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't think it'd probably take more than an hour, so.
Will Pat be able to be here? Okay. I mean, that's pretty important, right?
Yeah,
August 5th, 6 o'clock.
yep, just need a motion to set that.
Okay, I'll motion to set city council work session August 5th at 6 PM.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Well, with that's the end of our new business. We have an executive session. Once we have that in Mr. Van Squake's hands.
He's working on it.
All right. I move that the city council recess into executive session to discuss potential litigation of the city, consultation with the attorney on matters that were deemed privilege in attorney-client relationship, exception KSA 75-4319B2, to include the city manager and the city attorney until 7:55 PM.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are in executive session. We're back. Is there any discussion or decisions to be made as a result of our executive session? Hearing none, we have another executive session.
I move that the city council recess into an executive session to discuss pending litigation involving the city of Halstead, consultation with a city attorney on matters that would deemed privilege, an attorney-client relationship exception, KSA 75-4319B2. And I ask that the additional governing body members, the city manager and the city attorney are part of the executive session, not to last any longer than 8:10 PM.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. We're in executive session. We're back. Is there any discussion or decision to be made as a result of our executive session? Seeing none or hearing no comments, we'll move on to our reports, governing body comments. Anybody? Let's see, we'll start with you, Jim.
Nothing much. The town is looking better. I think it is. In my many walks around town, I have noticed a lot of stuff is gone that wasn't there, and we're getting the fences put back up, and there'll always be some trees hanging, and that's going to be there for years. But I think, everybody's doing a good job. So that's it.
Mr. Robinson?
I'll pass.
Mr. Homewood?
Nope, nothing.
Donna?
Nope, nothing for me.
And I have nothing myself, so we have Mr. Reimer, manager's report.
Not a lot beyond what I emailed to you guys as far as the departmental activity from the previous month. We'll note, street sweepers online, hopefully to come that last week of July, the 29th. So hopefully that'll get us doing or get some of those issues addressed on the streets prior to old settlers, and a lot of everything else in the last couple of weeks we talked about in the meeting that have taken up the majority of my time. So and then as far as the second quarter financial, if you all are okay with moving there, I will be referencing the treasurer's report that was in your packet. Again, there was just a small clerical error. It's not going to change any of the report or information I present to you. June has been soft closed, and it's currently going through the reconciliation process between the treasurer and the clerk. Across all funds, our total cash position of the city increased from the beginning of the second quarter in April by just over $370,000, with total cash available across all funds just over $7 million at the end of the second quarter. Drilling down to the budgeted funds, our cash position is just slightly better than it was the same time last year in June. Increases in the overall balance of the general fund, which is favorable to where it was last year, basically being offset by the decreased cash balance in our gas fund. At this point in our fiscal year, the majority of our ad valorem tax revenues have come related to property tax and been put into the respective funds of the general fund, the library, bond and interest, and special liability. And the remaining tax revenues that are anticipated to come in are related to personal property and vehicle, and we'll get those more towards the end of the year. Specifically in the general fund, certain revenues are performing above expectations, such as building permits, contractor license, and inspection fees, which unfortunately all of that's related to the May 19th weather event we experienced. And the city does, though, still see continued revenues in terms of lease payments from the industrial park ground and overall interest income. And then sales tax still is performing better than anticipated. Seasonal revenues, mainly the pool and the golf course, also have had strong numbers come in terms of their respective revenues. Expenditures in the general fund are at or below our overall expectations, even with the unanticipated storm expenses that we've been paying thus far, and we're trending about 5% below where we anticipated being at midpoint. So just want to thank again all the department heads for due diligence and their expenditures, and you all for overseeing that. The city's enterprise or utility funds also continue to operate within expectations and show relative signs of overall health. Controlling for capital reserve transfers and the internal fund transfers, and then our state utility loan payment for the gas fund. Our revenues did exceed expenditures for all the utility funds for the second quarter, which is what we like to see. Expenses to revenue ratio for those funds sits at 70% or lower for all of those at the end of June. Stormwater and gas funds were the only funds unfavorable to their cash positions compared to fiscal year 2023. And stormwater was related to some maintenance repairs which were undertaken, while gas is primarily related to the accelerated payments and then the lower winter storm year repayment plan revenues that we've been taking in, which is good news because that means a majority of those accounts are being settled out and paid off by the many customers. Reserves and capital funds continue to maintain their healthy balances. The city equipment fund has a balance just over $800,000, while the capital improvement fund has a balance over $950,000. It is important to remember that portions of those balances are already reserved for upcoming projects, just like the street work you guys all approved this evening. Utility reserves continue to build balances while also funding larger capital repairs and improvements. Most exciting is that the stormwater reserve should finally hit a reserve balance of 100,000, which has been a slow and steady build since the city established that reserve fund back in 2018. So just good to see it's building a balance that actually could let us handle a major repair if it came forward. At the end of the second quarter, cash and investments totaled just shy of 7.1 million, and the liabilities and obligations were just over 5.5. City has a balance just over 1.15 million on the gas utility loan, which means it's almost halfway paid off. And then the city has also upcoming debt service that will pay off in the next 5 years, including our 2012 GO bonds and the second wastewater treatment plant upgrade loan. And that was for work that was done prior to 2010. Overall, we remain in fiscally healthy shape and in a pretty strong situation as at the end of our second quarter. So good place to be.
Well, sounds good. Sounds like we're nice and strong. Well, that's the end of our agenda. Don't say any more. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Looking for a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.